On live.
The people that are coming to us these days are much sicker than the people that came to us in days gone by. The work that we were doing 10 and 15 years ago was much easier to do than the work we're doing today, because people are now coming to see us in the last stages of their disease. Many of you women and men should have been treated 10 and 15 years ago, and that time that has elapsed, while you may have been taking some kind of treatment, it wasn't doing you any good. You've been wasting your time and you've been wasting your money. Your diagnosis has not been correct. You've been trying to get by with prescriptions and $1 prescriptions and $2 prescriptions and things that your neighbors and friends have recommended to you to take, but you've been wasting your money and you've been wasting your time. And the sad part of it is, my friends, you've been wasting your health. And there's many of you that's looking at me right now in this picture, and many of you that will be looking at me in pictures to come, that have wasted your time and your substance and have lost the function of valuable organs like your heart and your kidneys, the glands of your body, and part of those have been destroyed by the infection that you've allowed to stay in there for months and years. You'll never be the same again. You need not expect to, but if you will take our advice and take our treatment, take our medicine, follow our diet, you'll have better health and feel better.
I feel better already.
You'll have better health.
I feel better now.
Just don't take any of those medicines. Don't waste any money on anything like that. And guess what? We didn't even make it through the intro. We went yellow.
What?
Yes, we are officially demonetized.
By showing him, you go yellow because he's such
apparently
a figure.
Apparently. Good
wow.
God.
You don't even say anything, you go yellow these days.
No kidding, but I want to thank everybody for being here, all 209 of you. It turns out that Viva Fry is going right now. Andrew Bronk is going right now. Uncivil Law is going right now.
Don't tell them they're going to go over there. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, you know what?
Bye-bye, 209. Nice knowing you.
No.
Thanks,
no, they won't. No, they won't. And if they do, they'll come back. Because it's 223 now. So
it's going to drop to 108 in 5 seconds. Watch this.
Nah. Now, everybody's got to at least hear about testicles.
Testicles is what made us yellow. We didn't even say it. We were thinking testicles, and
well, maybe my title said testicles, but I mean, come on.
Does it say testicles in the title?
It might.
Oh, that's a dead giveaway. You couldn't say something more generic like scrotum?
Oh, I'm sorry, or glands, or
glands.
I don't know.
Glands a common word. They use glands a lot.
Oh yes, the goat gland guy.
The goat gland guy. Let me tell you something. I was
Gonad. There you go, Pat Washburn. See, people can be writing our titles.
Okay, Washburn, way to get in there. When I was researching my book, Rehab Nation: Inside the Secret World of Celebrity Rehab, I went back into the quack era about rehabs, and I stumbled onto this guy, Brinkley, but it wasn't pertinent to my book because I was specializing in rehabs, that were being run by charlatans. But I took a lot of notes and I studied stuff about Brinkley anyway, just because it was so fascinating. It had nothing, to do with my book. But there were so many charlatans back then, you need a scorecard. And I wanted to make these, like the mass murder cards, these charlatan cards. And
Ooh.
I was working for the LA Weekly, and they said absolutely no one would be interested in Brinkley nor the cards. So they wouldn't let me and it was all about LA, because Brinkley does come to LA, which we'll see in the story. And LA was ground zero for charlatans. We had more charlatans here than any city in America, basically because they lost their licenses back east and they would migrate, which is what Brinkley did, further west until, the end hit the Pacific. And that's where you ended up, was in LA.
But it wasn't just charlatans too. It was like occult things and things. It's like every imaginable thing.
But
not only there, but welcome.
Most of the regulatory bodies were in D.C. and New York. The American Medical Association, the fledgling societies were back east. So they fled west, usually pursued by these people from these organizations who were out to stop them from being charlatans. I'll just tell you this. Wilshire Boulevard is the Park Avenue of LA, right? Wilshire Boulevard has all the top stores. There's the Wilshire Mile. It goes through West LA. It goes for a number of miles. And Wilshire is, just to give you an example, is named after a guy named Gaylord Wilshire, who invented the Wilshire horse collar that you put around your neck and electrically shocked yourself to do away with arthritis. He made tens of millions of dollars selling the Wilshire horse collar. So they named Wilshire Boulevard after that charlatan.
Perfect.
And just a perfect name. But that's where Brinkley was going and did achieve the same status, just not in LA, because he never could get a medical license here.
That's right. They did a temporary license for 30
Him a 30
days.
day license. Yeah. And then he was turned down by the medical board in Los Angeles, to their credit, trying to get one here. But he did have 7 states,
It's funny. You talked about the horse collar, and I was thinking it was an exercise tool. Like, one of those that would shock you and you wouldn't have to move and it would just make you lose fat. It's about the same.
He marketed it for arthritis. Gaylord Wilshire became a legend. These guys all are the same guys, like the pillow guy, the horse collar guy. They make a fortune. The guy who owns Passages, the rehab, those guys who own these rehabs in the 1920s and 30s, who made millions. And because of the millions, they were legitimized. And that's what we're going to find out here, I think, in this story.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what was it? In reading the book, too, they brought up Benjamin Rush, how even the legitimate doctors were killing people left and right.
Right. So, I mean, the bar of justice was very low. I mean, today's charlatan was tomorrow's Dr. Fauci. You know what I mean? Like, and it goes on today. The reason the Brinkley thing is interesting is because it has so many echoes of today. The people loved Brinkley. They hated the AMA. They wanted what Brinkley offered, and Brinkley cured them. Let me tell you something. I think it was during the height of the influenza, Brinkley saved the entire town.
Yes, that was in North Carolina, I think, right?
Right, in North Carolina, and went from house to house to house, saving everybody, dealing with everyone. When everyone was petrified of catching it, he became a country doctor of notoriety. His father was a doctor, and he always wanted to be a doctor.
It's funny. You mentioned how people hated the AMA. Well, our good friend Robert Barnes talks about how licensure killed his father.
That's right.
And so there is that populist part of the country that's saying, you're a bunch of snobs. And there's some truth to it, where they're regulating their way into controlling all the information. And so you could see the tug on that. He happened to be a quack, this guy, but there were also protectionism rackets and everything else that were going at the time.
Well, 40 states in the union, I think like 35 states in the union did away with licensure of medical doctors. That's how bad it got. The reverse did away with. They didn't want any control from the government on these doctors. They literally reversed it back then. So you didn't have to have a license.
Exactly.
Right. I don't think they trusted anyone with a license. I mean, Brinkley, we're going to find out, was a pure populist, like a guy who he put balls into named Huey Long. He actually put Go Testicles into Huey Long. I hope Barnes enjoys that. And William Jennings, it's a high achievement for Huey Long, but William Jennings Bryan got Go Testicles from him. Rudolph Valentino got Go Testicles. And also there's a rumor that President Woodrow Wilson got Go Testicles, although that's never been confirmed.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Right. It was a high-end operation, Eric. High-end.
And he wasn't the only one who was doing the testicles, because there were other people who were actually taking it from prisoners. And there was questions about maybe there was a couple people who were still living that were donating one for some money.
Okay. He claims Brinkley had a side business for human testicle to testicle operations. And that cost between $5,000 and $10,000. He was charging $750 for the goat testicles, and you went out and picked out your goat from outside. It was kind of like what's the place? Red Lobster. So, but there were humans with a lot of money who wanted young testicles, just like, I guess, selling your eggs today. Like if a girl who's 20 sells her eggs, she gets more money depending on her race, her condition, blonde, blue eyes. It goes up the scale. So the human testicle transfer, Brinkley wrote in a letter that he only uses young men under 35 of pure health who are in prison. So that's where he got his testicles from. Human testicles. Keep that in mind.
Right. And he criticized, and that's why I love is they fought amongst themselves, because he criticized other people. He's saying, oh, I would only use a prisoner, you know, it's more ethical, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And there was, even when he came out in 1922 to Los Angeles, Harry Chandler, the publisher of the LA Times, said, if you do this right, I'll make you the most famous surgeon in the world. And if you screw this up, you'll be damned to hell. And he said, I'll be right there. And he came out from Milford, Kansas, to do the editor and Chandler. Now, Harry Chandler was a very powerful man. Harry Chandler is depicted as Noah.
Chinatown, right?
In Chinatown, but yeah, as by John Huston in Chinatown. That was kind of who Harry Chandler was in the movie, depicted by John Huston. So he took him around and feeded him and got him the 30-day medical license to do what he wanted to do with people in LA. And even Buster Keaton caught on to the fever. And we may have a little clip of Buster Keaton and how he worked in that fad into one of his movies, Eric.
I don't know. Let's check it out.
Let's take a look. So you see, it was
mainstream
in pop culture. Yeah, I mean, the highest figure, Buster Keaton, at that time, doing a spoof on it with the horse. But back in 1893 in Chicago World's Fair, there was a cowboy who came out and he strangled rattlesnakes as part of his act. And the fluids that came out of the rattlesnake, he named snake oil, and he sold it right there to the people who were attending the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. And that was the beginning of snake oil salesman, where the phrase came from, for you people sitting at home wondering about that. Fauci, maybe one of the snakes, could have been one of the snakes, we don't know. But yeah, so he comes out west to Kansas, right, Eric? Brinkley migrates. He gets, what do they have, like 3 wives?
Well, he was trying to go into Chicago too. And so he's dancing around Chicago and Kansas. I forget the order.
He's trying to open a medical. Well, first of all, he's trying to get degrees. He gets parts of degrees from different medical schools, and he gets one from the Eclectic Medical School in Chicago, which is a real medical school. He later goes to Europe, and he floats around trying to suss out honorary degrees. He gets one in Italy, and it's rescinded because there's an outcry by the American Medical Association, and it's taken away from him by Mussolini himself, who rescinds. Yeah, oddly enough, Mussolini steps up and goes, this is too much even for fascists. We can't allow this to happen. So he took away his medical degree from some medical school in Italy.
Well, Chicago had the AMA, and that's where a lot of the war started. He had a, I don't know if you've, I pulled a picture of him, of course, but he had a long-term nemesis who followed him for life.
Yes, Morris Fishbein.
Yes,
Mo Fishbein.
And this guy, and it's kind of important because I think they crossed paths early on in Chicago and just back and forth throughout his whole career. But
yeah, that's Fishbein on the left. Yeah,
and Morris Fishbein had that was his raison d'etre. I mean, he was like the anti-quack guy, and he considered John Brinkley to be the quack of all quacks.
Well, keep in mind, he was the editor of the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA, at the time.
Mhm.
So he had given up private practice and become the editor of that magazine. Although he was a medical doctor, he
Yep.
dedicated his life to busting quackery and quacks around the country. Rightfully so. I mean, there was no rules. It was the Wild West. I mean,
for sure.
how many people did Brinkley injure in the course of his transplants?
Right. And so, of course, he was going after our intrepid hero.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Eric. I love that. I love that you could pick out the goats, like Red Lobster. You go outside and pick out your goat. Well, let's tell what happened to the guy, Stittenberg, or whatever the guy's name, Bill Stittenberg, shows up and he says to Brinkley, I'm dead inside. I've been married 12 years. I can't produce any children. Brinkley goes, that's tough break. I wish there was some medical science that you could use, but there isn't. You're out of luck, Stittenhouse. And Brinkley, says, I can't help you. And the guy says, I will pay you money. I watched these billy goats this morning humping each other. And all I want you to do is take the nuts out of those billy goat and put it in me. The guy demands this. He demands this. This is where it starts. And Brinkley says, all right, I'll do what you want. And he takes the nuts out of the billy goat and puts it into this guy, right? This guy goes home, married, and 9 months later has a baby, and they bring the baby back. And it's called Billy, like Billy Goat. And that hits the newspapers, and that's where he ascends to greatness, quote unquote, through this campaign that the newspaper ran on the boy being born to the guy who got the goat balls.
Right. Well, he had a series of babies, Brinkley babies, and he always took pictures with all of them. And
oh, yeah, that's what he said. But this was the guy who demanded that he put in the goat's testicles into his own scrotum, which anybody could say. But this guy went through with it, Hunley. This guy had the balls to go through with it.
I grew up with goats. I can't confirm their robustness, if
right.
you will.
I don't know goats that well. I just, I heard about goats, but they're very healthy animals. Is that what people say?
Yeah, they have a very healthy drive, but I will also tell you this. We kept I guess you call them billy goats. We prefer to say bucks. Well away from not only the female goat, the does, but also from us and anything downwind. Oh. Because they had a particular method of perfuming.
What?
Yes, and it involved going to the bathroom on themselves all day long to give an allure for the does. And we had to make sure that they were way the hell down the road because they stank.
He said they didn't use billy goats, his wife Millie, for that reason. They used some other kind of goat. Not a goat aficionado, but it was some other goat they used because she said that, the wife, that the billy goat was too odoriferous or something.
Oh, I remember that there was like a different breed that they used, but it wound up causing problems that they used that for that purpose. I can't remember all of it, but
he did the chancellor of the University of Chicago Law School. And there's a famous photo of that chancellor at the age of 71 jumping up in the air and clicking his heels.
That's right.
And that went national on the wire services. So he was working with a high-end clientele. And I think what Brinkley later said was, the higher you were up in the intelligentsia, the easier it was to con you. He said there was a direct correlation by people being the top of society. And it reminded me of the woman who went on trial last year for making the phony blood testing machine for Walgreens.
Oh, yeah. Theranos.
Theranos, right. And how she had the top people in the government, secretaries of state, and all these upper crust people investing. Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, it kind of makes sense if you think about it.
She had Schultz, Secretary of State Schultz, and others who bought into this thing.
But you know part of why? Because these top people went to school with the top people in the profession, and they're like, that stupid idiot was in my frat. They're a moron.
Right.
But yeah, it's Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos, I think you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. It just reminded me of that because Chandler bought into it, and all these actors will always buy into it. But I mean, all of these people with money and industry and intelligentsia, university people bought into it, which is surprising. And I think that it was the Roaring 20s, and if you were petered out during the Roaring 20s, you might miss the entire decade of sexual crazy pleasure, and you would do anything. Especially
Right.
after a certain age.
Well, and it was there was also prohibition going on, and that was the part I thought was funny. But reading up, trying to catch up on it, how every single tonic had like massive quantities of alcohol.
Yes,
and it's like, well, yeah, it'll cure you because you damn sure won't care after you drink the bottle.
Well, he was also an alcoholic himself, Brinkley, and performed many of these operations drunk, according to his coworkers. In fact, one time he took an axe and chopped up his neighbor's car with an axe. Then he got a bear. He wanted to start a zoo at the house, and he bought a bear. That was his first animal, and the bear kept him up at night, growling. So he went out and shot it in the head and killed it. And there's footage of him catching that tuna. I don't know if you saw that footage where he goes fishing, Eric, and he catches some 750-pound tuna. And his kid, he comes back. I think they're off the West Coast or something. They come back, and there's his kid, John Brinkley III, with his foot on top of a baby seal that he'd killed with his .22 rifle. And his father,
God, that's right. Yeah,
remember that? I mean, totally gross. Yeah, there's the kid and him with the tuna. That was legitimate. That was legitimate.
That's a big ass tuna.
That's some tuna. But the kid, he comes back, and the kid had killed a seal with his .22 rifle, and he scolded him, saying, "Oh yeah, that must be the captain of the boat already. Look at that. Wow, those are tuna back then.
That's a lot of cans, buddy.
Right, that's a lot of Starkist. Wow,
No kidding."
But yeah, so the kid didn't have a chance growing up in a normal household. The kid was the first kid to talk on radio when there it is. Oh my God, this is disgusting. Look at this. This must be up the coast by Monterey here, because there's seals laying on the beach.
And he's holding his hand too. He's like so proud. Look at my son.
Right.
Oh my God.
I mean, they're not moving. They're laying on the beach. He went up and shot it in the head. This miniature killer. But anyway, he with his son later would speak on the radio for the first time. When he visited Harry Chandler had started a radio station, and this enamored Brinkley. He got the idea that he could do a radio station too and sell all his crap. And he goes back to Milford, and he starts a radio station in Milford, Kansas, called Kansas Beautiful, Kansas Free or something, KFKB or something. And large wattage station that is so avant-garde that the Federal Communications Commission, or as it was called back then, the Federal Radio Commission, sued him to take him off the air. That becomes a landmark case. Brinkley's involved in all these different landmark legal cases, Eric, simply, I think, because he's doing things against the system, and he also has deep pockets.
Well, it's interesting because if you think about it, he was not mainstream, right?
Right.
So he was trying to get the word out to advertise his wares. So he came up with creative means to get the word out. And there you go, the radio station. And they
loved him. They loved him in that town. Look at that crowd. I mean,
well, he built the town.
He built the town.
It was a one-horse town. I think.
Right.
What was it? When he was tricked in moving there. I think they said that he was told, it was like a pretty good, it was a decent town, like 2,000 people, and had 200. It was 200.
Right.
It's like, but then he built, and all of a sudden there's a street there, and then what was it? Church. Everywhere he went, he built everything.
He built a street. How about the whole? Put in the whole sewage system. Put in a hospital. Put in a church. Put in a school. Is it any wonder they loved him?
Yeah, and
he was a god
a mix.
to them. He was a god.
Well, and you see, that's where I think his story's so interesting because depending on where you are in the spectrum, he's pretty complex, right? Because he did give back to his community more than anyone. And I could see where anyone in the town would say, hey, I love this guy. He, look, he brought roads. He did this. He did this. He's been nothing but good to us.
Well, think about the math. He's doing 50 operations a month, 50 for $750 a pop for all year. Think about, and a number of years. I mean, he claims in the court case that he's done over 14,000 goat testicle transplants times 750.
Oh, and
Like
hold on.
$750 in 1923 money.
And don't forget though, he did offer to the sideline human once, but sometimes he'd do a 4 for $5 deal
Right.
on that. So
he
it's
says in the letter, if you bring your friends,
yeah,
I need 6 weeks to get the human testicles.
got to source them out. Now you know,
yeah.
and they got to arrive on time. But
Yeah.
you know what? It's like I'll give you yours for free if you bring 4. I think it was like 4 others.
Well, it's funny because in rehabs out here, they give you a $5,000 bounty even today if you can drag someone into the rehab.
Innovated again.
What's that?
He innovated again. They probably picked it up from him.
That's probably where he got it. Yeah, I know. But remember, he has that light show on his front lawn with the fountain where people showed up. The whole town showed up on Sunday night, and he had a fountain, and he played like a Wurlitzer organ, and the fountain would spew out in different colors and lights. And it was this what the town did on Sunday night.
That's right. And he put electricity in the town. I forgot about that because they didn't really have much of that either. And he picked up on that from Chicago because I guess Chicago used more electricity than the entire country combined.
Right.
And so he was influenced
certainly
by
that radio station was huge. And that's why the FCC or the FRC at that point took him to court to stop him. If you look at the programming, he became the Dr. Ruth, as somebody pointed out, of radio, giving sex advice in 1926 on the radio about intercourse. And they also had like an astrologer show. It was like Network, the movie Network. He had an astrologer. He had country and Western music. He had himself doing religious stuff. Right, Eric? I mean, they had some spirituality angle to it.
What's scary, though, is he was literally covering like 9 or 10 states with the signal because on the low AM band, that's something I've learned over time. But the lower the band, the longer the waves of the radio waves. But his antennas were so powerful, and especially later, that people could feel it in their feelings.
Well, that's when it goes down to Texas and Del Rio. That thing was a 1,000,000-watt station. That was the border blaster that later became the home of Wolfman Jack and referred to in many songs, including Dylan's Murder Most Foul. But
ZZ Top.
Backing up to this radio station, he begins to learn how to do radio, and he begins to be able to master the radio at a time when it was in its infancy, Eric, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was pioneer. He really was.
He was a radio pioneer. And people still give him credit to this day for being one of the first pioneers of radio. You know, I mean, they didn't like what he did was, this is really weird. He started to sell his medicines over the radio, but he licensed pharmacies in multiple states for you to go to. The pharmacy got a kickback and everybody was making a fortune. The pharmacies were in Illinois. They might've been in Iowa, and you'd go in from the direction from him saying, take formula number 9. He would just say the number. And you'd go in, and then he would get money from that pharmacy.
Another innovation.
Another innovation.
I mean, it's really spooky.
Oh, but the drugs came from Merck. It was actually from Merck, and Merck tried to put a stop to it because they weren't getting a cut from the pharmacy or him. So these were not like things he mixed up in his basement, Eric. These were literal drugs from Merck Pharmaceuticals.
Well, that's what I love about it too. Is like as you read this crazy chase where every time they go after him on one thing, he would slide out and come up with an innovation. And
there was no rules. There were no rules. He wasn't breaking any rules. There were none. They were making them up as they went along. He was a pioneer ahead of the curve. They were chasing him. He wasn't breaking any laws. All this stuff, the Brinkley Act, all of these things were done because of him to stop it in the future. You know what I mean? So when he loses the court case to the Federal Radio Commission, the FR, he loses that. He loses his radio license in Milford. Here's the crowd. It was just like a send-off or something here, but I mean, he loses the radio license, and then he loses the ability to do medical stuff in the state of Kansas. So what does he do, Eric? He runs for governor. He runs for governor. And this is where the story really gets interesting, because now he becomes Donald Trump, as somebody pointed out. he becomes a write-in candidate in the election for governor, but because he gets in there so late, he becomes a write-in. Obviously, he's in there a little late. Here's some of the cartoons. They have political cartoons. One guy's riding a donkey, another one's riding an elephant, and there's Brinkley riding a goat. Friday, August 26th. I mean, yeah, he was the first guy. It was later done by Huey Long, but he had a truck and a plane. And the truck was a sound truck that folded out with a stage, went all around the state of Kansas. The plane he bought from a guy named Charles Lindbergh. So yes.
As you would.
As he would. He bought a plane from Lindbergh and got a pilot. And there he is coming out of the plane. And he was such a good public speaker that he didn't have a problem running for, here he is at the podium. Yeah. And he became a populist. What he was offering was free textbooks to the schools, free medical care to the people of Kansas, sort of like a...
he offered them everything. Everything.
No, he really did. It wasn't everything. It wasn't everything. He had a logic to what he was offering. He, for instance, he said when God made Kansas, they forgot to put in the lakes. So he was going to put in a man-made lake in every county in Kansas, which is an interesting idea in the middle of the country, where it's really hot in the summer. And that's not a crackpot idea, actually. Put in a lake and a park in every county, Eric.
Yeah, I guess it's a stretch, but
well, okay. So the top mucky mucks in Kansas with the attorney general meet secretly, and they go, "What are we going to do about this guy Brinkley?" So before the election day, they changed the law, saying that the write-in candidates can only have one, meaning him, can only have one exact spelling for the name.
Period space
Dr.
R
J period R period Brinkley. That's it. Any deviation is illegal. So what's he going to do? He goes into the election. He loses by 30,000 votes. And it turns out that 50,000 votes of his were tossed out intentionally. And even the candidate that won said he should have won the election because of what they did to him. He should have been the governor of Kansas.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was so
Harry Woodring, who later became Secretary of War for FDR, was the guy who beat him in the election. He ran 2 years later against Alf Landon, who became the Republican nominee for the presidency in 19...
By the way, that was another innovation. Don't you have that now? Every time you have somebody who tries to get their name on the ballot and in California, that they say, "Oh no, we got to check those signatures."
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Those legitimate. It's like, come
absolutely.
on.
That was another Brinkley event that I think the state of Kansas later changed, but California has picked up the same thing. And Kansas first, Canvas best was the name of the station. But he loses this election. Everybody says he won, and there's headlines like Dewey beats Truman. There's headlines that say Brinkley, governor of Kansas, but they kept trickling in the votes overnight, folks. So this populist candidate who was close to Huey Long lost the election. And what does he do now? He moves out of the state of Milford to Del Rio, Texas, down by the border. Yeehaw! Down the Texas-Mexico border. And here, an inch over the border, he sets up a 1 million watt radio station, a blaster, a border blaster station.
Right, because he was banned.
Because he was
FCC banned him. He can't have anything. So okay, I'll go to Mexico.
Right, but his office is in Del Rio, Texas, an inch over the border. Here's his house with the kid playing piano. That's it, himself and Minnie there. He sets up a huge operation. This hospital he sets up. Look at this place. This is on a border town that had nothing, absolutely nothing.
Kind of like Milford.
Same thing as Milford.
Look at that little estate there. I mean, that could have been Hollywood, back in the day.
Right. There's not anything around it. Here's this track to Mexico by Black Sheep. That's pretty interesting. With a radio station in his hand, the guy, see with his radio thing, Mexico. And Mexico says, "Welcome, my friend. We want to stick it to the United States, who stuck it to us by boxing us out of these quadrants of radio quadrants all across North America."
Oh, that's right. They said they didn't let them have the spectrum.
That's right. But Canada got it and the U.S. took it. And in other words, it's kind of like no TV ban for you, Mexico.
It's
You know
sort of
what I
like the
mean?
Colorado River. Let's ask Mexico what they think of that. Everything's diverted before it gets down to them.
Also, like Netflix, had to go down to South America and develop bandwidth with the government to have enough bandwidth by bribing officials in South America to allow increased bandwidth for Netflix streaming.
Yep.
I mean, it's still going on today, this type of stuff.
Right. Well, and I worked in the cell phone world, and Spectrum is literally everything. Like, I don't know if you knew that for a long time, Cox Cable and the cable companies, Verizon, Fios, stopped all expansion.
Right. Oh, I'm well aware of it.
The reason why they stopped is because Cox somehow had managed to, and other cable companies had bought the spectrum from the FCC because they have these bids, and they held on to it because the cable companies were going to open, and have cell phones. So the deal was that they would shut down their cell phone operation if Fios wouldn't move in, because, of course, we don't have collusion or anything like that. And then finally that ran out, and you'll see that Fios came into my area, and they're competing now. But forever they were just working behind the scenes. It's a lot of shadiness.
I just want to point out that he also sponsored a baseball team in Milford called the Brinkley Goats, which is very important to me. I'd love to find a uniform. If anybody's out in Kansas who has a uniform for the Milford Brinkley Goats, I would love to pay for that as a souvenir of the show. But yeah, I mean, when he said, I think it's XERA was the name of the radio station down there. It reached 17 countries. I mean, it went all the way through the South. It went through all through the United States. I mean, that's the one that you could listen to it through the fillings in your teeth. That's the one that went through barbed wire. That's the one that, and you didn't need a radio.
It's probably not healthy.
Right. They talked about it in the PBS series on country and Western music, but and in that 12-part series, they mentioned this radio station. They don't mention Brinkley, but they mention the radio station. And it was 1 million watts. And because it would literally, you'd go out to the car. You didn't need a radio in the car because the car was the antenna. And Hank Williams used to go out with his father and listen to country music from this radio station through the car itself, the antenna in the car, and the fillings in your teeth, which is, amazing. Great reception, honey. Let's go out on a date. We got our own music.
Yeah, that's got to be healthy. It's like, what was more dangerous, his surgeries or his radio station?
Well, I don't know if it hurt people, but just to get good reception back there, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, he starts to get sued by a lot of people at this point, because what's happening is the little people are afraid to bring a suit. They don't have any pockets. They're embarrassed, whatever's happening to them. But a lot of the big people start to go at him, and he begins to lose a lot of money. And ex-patient sues Brinkley. Yeah, that's when it starts. The downward spiral. He, in 1 year, I think he paid out millions in malpractice, but and then the IRS came after him for $500,000. It was like boom, 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 boom. And yeah, Go Clan Dr. Jackson berated by doctors. Oh, dude, when he takes the stand in that Fishbein case, how that guy shreds him, Fishbein's lawyer, he starts quoting Brinkley formula 1020. Yeah. Okay. So this is the injection. Brinkley says he's figured out an injection. He doesn't have to do surgery now. And he switches to formula 1020. So he's trying to back away from the surgery and just say that this will do the job, which is interesting. Shift in tactics, but they're still coming after him because he's making so much money.
Well, in fairness too, because they were blocking the testimonials from coming forward. And at the time, testimonials were a complete pain in the ass, a nightmare to the Fishsteins or whatever. And they even had campaigns going out, or buying, that were saying, hey, this person, here's this testimonial. And then they would show a picture of their gravestone. They show what they had as a condition and then their gravestone that they still had the condition. But nobody paid attention to that because the testimonials were so strong.
Well, also in the court case, the judge banned all the people that went with him who were patients from testifying. He said that you're jaded. The judge ruled that only experts could testify. Remember the word experts, Eric?
Yep.
Only medical experts. So Brinkley and his lawyer said, that's our entire case, Your Honor. These are people who came with us to testify how great the surgery altered our lives.
And the judge said, "You're
all,
right." Tough.
Yeah, they were all disavowed from testifying in the Fishbein versus Brinkley case, which is a little shady, I think, because these experts took the stand. And what is he's supposed to do? He's ahead of the curve on a lot of these experts.
Well, and that. We're getting right back to Barnes again. God,
Yep.
We should have Barnes here because he would be going off on half of this stuff. And it's a weird thing because, again, the whole expert testimony and whoever you pay the most for. I mean, we look at what a joke it is right now. It's like, okay, well, who is the biggest paid expert for whatever time? And these experts are all prepped. They're all hired guns. Are they necessarily legitimate? I don't know.
Well, anyway, the town itself showed up to testify. The whole town showed up, took the bus and train and whatever they could to get there. And the judge said, none of you are allowed to testify. I guess you didn't have standing to actually to be
either that or his latches.
No. Latches or standing, I don't really know. These were good people who had goats' testicles. I think they should have been allowed to testify with their goat balls.
Yeah, they not only had balls, they had extras.
They had extra. Now, let me just explain this because it might be a little confusing to people. What he did, the physics of the surgery was he cut a little section of goat testicle gland, a tiny little square. He opened the scrotum and he placed it in the scrotum and sewed it up. That's he didn't take the balls and put them in there and take the other balls out. Because I said, I got to figure out how this worked. So finally, I found a journal that said exactly how it worked. He simply cut a little piece of gland of the goat testicles and placed it into the human scrotum. I don't know what he did with the human to human testicles, but apparently it either had a placebo effect or it really worked, Eric. I don't know.
They did actually insert the full testicles because they would show that they had more than one. And there was other doctors who put in their own testicles. They had 3 in their stomach. It's just weird.
We're going to have to get Dr. Drew on this because I forgot to ask Drew about this, but I will after the show because I want to know, he knows about this. I want to know the actual medical procedure, how this worked.
What's weird about it too, though, is
wouldn't the testicles die unless they were connected?
And they would be rejected.
Right. But that's why I think it's just a little piece of gland of the testicle that they put in there.
True, but a lot of these people weren't around exactly a huge long time afterward anyway. But what's interesting is he wasn't completely off because endocrine medicine has spawned out of it. They're not going to claim it, but it actually did spawn out of these people, and they're still doing that to this day.
Endocrinologist the other day, as a matter of fact. She wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for Brinkley.
There you go. See,
she works at Cedars-Sinai.
Exactly, innovating the whole way.
Right. She probably studied at Brinkley's knees. Now, Brinkley writes that autobiography. At least he hires a guy who writes an autobiography of Brinkley, pays a guy $5,000, and then he publishes it himself. Now, this is not unusual because the great leaders of the rehabs in Malibu approached me to write autobiographies for them for essentially the same price. And I, of course, turned it down. But this is an ongoing self-publishing thing in America that goes back to Brinkley. So he's confronted on the stand by Fishbein's attorneys quoting from his book. And he keeps saying, I never read the book. You know what I mean? So he can't be held accountable. But lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. He says he goes to Johns Hopkins University and as a 14-year-old to try to become a doctor. I mean, just crazy crap that's in the book that was easily disproven by the lawyers. And he loses the case.
By the way, he did one other innovation that we passed over and forgot about. And it was again related to Mexico.
What?
Remember, they banned him. And they said, sorry, you're not going to be able to broadcast live from your house because he ran a wire literally from his house to the radio station.
Right.
So because of that, he created pre-recorded programming. He recorded onto a record and it would be taken in. But that's used to this day. Pre-recorded programming.
Right. How about the fact that he would just phone in the conversation before that on the phone? And he'd do his radio show from Texas. It would go on a wire to the radio station, which I guess was 100 yards away. It was right on the border.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
And then that would go out to the whole world. from his
It was
telephone
Well, why
while
not?
he
That's
was
brilliant.
while he was shit-faced drunk.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
yeah.
You don't have to leave the house.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this guy had 3 yachts. He had all these Cadillacs and big cars. He had train. He had, everything you could possibly imagine in terms of wealth. This guy had in the middle of the Great Depression, and that pissed Fishbein off, who went
all the
berserk.
experts, all of them, because they were like, we actually got a medical degree, you son of a bitch.
Well,
Why are you calling yourself
but
a
they
doctor?
cited the money. They cited the money he
Oh,
was
well, of
making
course.
at $1 million a year, Eric. In the height of the Depression, that would be like 35 million today. I mean, or 50 million. I don't.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, it's again, we don't have a good comparison because in some ways it'd be like 100 million now because it's so stratospherically up there that
It's amazing that he lost all his money in these lawsuits. You know what I mean? It's amazing that he lost everything, which is what we're coming to now, because he gets sued through malpractice and the IRS comes after him for $550. But nevertheless, you would think that this guy could have weathered the storm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, you can only weather so much. I mean, when you have the entire government just leaning on you, and then you open the doors for every freaking patient you've ever had, the pile on, it's just going to be overwhelming.
Well, I mean, he paid out quite a lot, but he did have malpractice insurance. But I don't know. Maybe they cut it off at a certain point. You know,
probably.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he made 1.1 million, what he called $1,100,000 in the court case, and the guy goes, "Isn't that 1.1 million, sir?" He goes, "Well, I like to call it 1,100,000."
Well, yeah, but there's a reason for that, because he had to. There was some sort of claim
Right,
that
right.
it was in the millions, but when he said 1,100,000, he's like, "No, I'm not a millionaire."
Why is he saying that 1,100,000? He goes, "Isn't that 1.1 million in common vernacular, sir?" And he says, "I don't know," but that was 1937. So I mean, the amount of money he was pulling in, and that's what's recorded. That's what I mean. He paid taxes. They just came after him for back taxes. He's obviously paying taxes.
Sure.
And also had all these side businesses where he's building everything wherever he went. He did the same thing down in Del Rio.
Yeah, he built the whole thing. I mean,
he built the whole town. I mean, these were company towns. He also paid the highest wages in the country for carpenters and nurses and everyone else, way over the average wage in that area. So he did spread the wealth. This is, he's part Robin Hood, part Dr. Oz. He's part.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Senator Oz. He might be Senator Oz shortly.
Apparently not, because he seems to have a hunting problem. We won't go into that.
We'll go back to Dr. Oz, and he's part charlatan, part real guy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. It's not cut and dry with this guy. It's not cut and dry. There's a lot of good that he did for a lot of people. Even though he was drunk and leaving, cigarettes in the open wounds and stuff like that while he was doing the thing. But
when he was drunk, he would talk about his idiot patients and that kind of.
Right. That did help. Yeah.
That's sort of, I think, helped lead to the downfall too, because they started to get a little, I think, pissed.
Right. He was one of these nice, guys when he was sober, and then when he was drunk, he became like Satan. He just got really violent, really crazy. Maybe he was drinking White Lightning. Who knows? Because it was during Prohibition that a lot of his drinking was done, and maybe he made his own pure alcohol. I don't know. I mean, he's a fascinating guy in American history, and it's definitely an untold story, even though it's been touched on by, at one point, Robert Downey was supposed to play him in a movie that never got off the ground.
Over the past few years, there's a really good documentary out, very fun, called Nuts.
Oh yeah, Nuts is great.
You can check that out. I mean, it covers everything that we said here and a little bit more. They did a fantastic job with it. Crazy ass art. I appreciate it too, because they did these really cool animations throughout that
it's
were just fascinating.
Part newsreel.
Yeah,
it's been done before. They did it with somebody did it with the Charles Joseph Whitman, and the shooting from the Texas Tower did the same style of animation plus newsreel. It's an interesting style of documentary. You might want to look into the Whitman one also, Texas Tower shoot. I've got the name of it, but same kind of style. It's animated plus newsreel.
Wonder if it's the same people. I don't know.
It's not. That's Penny Lane. No, Penny Lane did one on Nixon. She didn't do that. This woman who directed Nuts, her name is Penny Lane. She didn't do the one on Whitman, but somebody else did. the one on Whitman, and then I don't know if Richard Linklater got into doing one that was animated. The guy, somebody else did the Chicago 10 one that was animated. That's really well done. Same exact style using newsreel and animation. It's a great style for certain types of subjects, not everything. But the Chicago 10 one was great. The Nixon one, and also this Nuts, as it's called.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's where it comes from. Well, you know, when you're nuts, maybe it came from the Brinkley thing.
Well, I mean, with this alcoholic binges,
nuts. Yeah,
you know, it fits. It's part hallucination. But
well, I think the Brinkley Act comes out of some of these things about the radio stations and stuff, right, Eric?
Yep, and of course, though, it is John Brinkley, not this Brinkley.
Yeah, I thought they were related because he's from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah,
John Brinkley is from sort of the western mountains of North Carolina, a little further away, but maybe they're part of the same Brinkley clan.
Well, David Brinkley's son is John, so he is related to John, his son.
John Brinkley, yeah, he's related to his son. He looks a little like him. I don't know, maybe not, maybe yes. We just put out the dots. You people have to connect them yourself. We don't know what the relationship is between David Brinkley or Chet Huntley. But I just wanted to say something about David Brinkley because he went to the ranch, the LBJ ranch, and he had to go home to do the evening news, the NBC News, the Huntley Brinkley report. Unfortunately, he left his wife behind in one of the guest rooms, and LBJ, as he did with everyone, pulled the covers back and said, "Move over, honey. This is your president calling. Move over." And he gets underneath and did things to her with Jumbo that were later reported in other people's memoirs. So David Brinkley never should have left his wife at the LBJ ranch. That's all I can say.
And it wasn't just goats that are horny.
That's right. There's
well, guess what? We got some super chats that came in early on. Thank you, Turkina. Thank you. When I was talking about how other shows are going on, by the way, Mark, they stuck with us. We're at 571.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So, and thank you, Turkina. And yes, we definitely need for the book fund. On that note, the General Walker book that Barnes brought up that you lent to them, I had somebody write into me, and I do read emails that come in over the contact form asking if they see that book on Amazon, should they jump on it? Is it worth buying?
Oh, the book is worth buying. I have replaced it. I gave one to Barnes. I got one for myself. I got Amazon's briefly sold out. I got it on eBay. It's like a $70 book, so be careful. You know, some of them are $200.
I pre-ordered it for $40 from Books A Million. I'll wait.
Yeah, the low price I saw is $40, but I paid $70 the other day for it, so I had to give Barnes one.
Okay, so folks, if you see it and it's there for $40, jump on it.
Jump on it. It's a rare book. It's pretty, and it's like 900 pages or 1,300 pages or something. Barnes was like a child, just salivating when he saw the size of it.
That crazy big brain would probably be a day's reading. He's like,
"Hey, look, it's Pasha. He's everywhere." I saw him on the other show Sunday. He's cheating on us. Said it looks like Lenin. Oh, right.
So does this? Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true, Pasha. That is true.
And the feds are watching. As long as they're paying, I'm happy to have them. Thank you. Speaking of goats, you guys are the goat. Thank you very, very much. I do appreciate that, Sparty Matt.
Wow. Well, keep your eye on the road. Never mind us.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Maria tacos are the best. Love you guys. Okay. I'm not familiar with the. Is that from the Del Rio area, maybe, or something? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, Pasha. The famous definition of expert: X is an unknown quality, and spurt is a big drip under pressure. Yes.
He's still a moil in my book, though.
There you go. Wait. Did we put up that? I did. I put up the video on Locals about the moil in the Lincoln.
Yeah.
The Saturday Night Live skit.
SNL commercial. Yeah, brilliant.
And Wois Dustin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me catch. Okay, and that catches that up. We've got that covered. There's only one more thing that happened, very sadly, with the Brinkley clan, right? His son.
His son. Yeah. Does that roll? Yeah. Is this video?
No, it's just a
Okay.
screenshot of him.
Right. He became an alcoholic.
The seal
and,
killer.
Yeah, he was the first child to ever speak on radio. I don't know if that's a claim to fame, but he sang "Happy Birthday," public domain song. Interestingly enough, over the radio as a young boy.
By the way,
And-
that just became public domain. They had to go through a court fight over it.
Right. Interesting. And he also killed a seal, not a Navy SEAL, an actual SEAL, with a 22, a defenseless SEAL. Became an alcoholic, took a gun, and blew his brains out. Years later.
Right at John.
Years later.
So Little John. But
Karma, baby.
Yeah, but on a happy note, we have Rolf, who stayed
Rolf
home
is
from his
back.
job
Wow.
to take advantage of the live chat.
Rare occasion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rolf. Stayed home from his job.
I mean, that's dedication. Thank you.
All right.
So, all right. So, yeah, I mean, wrap up on that. I mean, he didn't live that long beyond losing
Brinkley?
everything. Yeah,
Brinkley?
I think he died in 44 or something like that.
Yeah, he died 3 years after everything happened. I think he had a stroke or his heart gave out or something. But he was bedridden for a while and then just passed away.
And one last piece of trivia about him. And I'm like, Mark, were you trying to punk me or what? But the son of a bitch's birthday is July 8th, which is my birthday.
It's the same as Hunley's.
Yeah, and here's the other Arnie. Guess which giant dickhead industrialist also shares my birthday?
Bill Gates?
No, industrialist.
Oh, Henry Ford?
No, John D. Rockefeller.
Oh, wow. You're up there in the high cotton, Eric.
So it's like I've got the chief quack and the chief. Anyway.
Well, I always thought you should be on a news show called the Hunley-Brinkley Report.
Yeah, except there's a T, the Hunt Lee.
Right.
Oh, look at this.
This guy quit his job. He won up, Rolf.
No, he did. Well, obviously, because he didn't have $20 because he lost his job. He's got to.
Rolf has a backup job. He sings the national anthem at cockfights in Tijuana, so he'll be okay for a little while.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Okay, so on a happy note, we have merch.
Yeah, you got that?
Yeah, this is a fine and dandy polo sold on the merch shelf down below.
I took a photo of Barnes with the hat on. I don't know if I sent it to you.
I've not seen that.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Well, I need to have that so we can display it every show.
Oh no, I'll send it to you after the show.
Yeah, your buddy's not wearing it, so I would want that, but he's gonna. All right, so we also have Oswald the Patsy dog.
Bear. That's the bear, right?
That's the Patsy dog, the Patsy pup.
Right. Okay. Is that selling? Do people really like that?
Well, when they're available. The bear's still not available. I will buy a bear when it's available just to show it off. But the bear's kind of like the General Walker book, folks. If it comes in, you better jump on it.
Better jump on the bear.
Same thing with this bucket hat.
The bucket hat is great. That's the best. That's great because it's in black and the logo really jumps out.
Yeah, it does. And the black goat sells out there very quickly.
Right.
I had to get that one in between.
Okay.
And I don't know, Chris Banks, if Mark hates the dog. Sometimes I think he does.
Chris Banks he knows I hate that dog, and I've told him personally. Oh, here's the cup.
It's a camper cup, and there's other cups. I think Mark even has cups. He just doesn't show them off.
I've got some stuff. I don't have the cups. I mean, I've got the unofficial purple American, which no one else has but me. It was designed by a woman gynecologist in France. And me overseas, so I really appreciate that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's a prototype. So just in case you're looking for it on the website, you're not going to find it. It's a mock-up of a sham of an Enigma prototype.
Right. Oh, by the way, Patrick Washburn sent in that this radio station was referred to and Heard It on the X by ZZ Top off their 1975 album Fandango. And
right.
That was over PayPal, so we can always
1947, they begin to broadcast rock and roll with a guy named Wolfman Jack. And that literally starts the rock and roll fad in the United States from that radio station through Wolfman Jack.
And it's not there, but it's there's a documentary about it too. But they did the same thing in England off of a boat.
Oh yeah, that was a pirate radio thing. Yeah,
so, but it's a similar principle.
You could pick up Route 66 on the east and drive to LA on 66 and listen to the same station across the entire continental United States in 1947.
which you can't do now. I'm considering it's been a dead zone for 40 years.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
But this station, you could listen to Chuck Berry. You can hear everybody, known to rock and roll history driving across the country on 66.
which
Through your own teeth, which is even better.
Yeah, which is incredible. I mean,
through your own fillings.
So,
okay, so you can follow me at Lord Buckley. I don't know if you got my book down there at Rehab Nation. You'll find other quacks. Oh, good. There's other quacks in that book pertaining to rehabs that are just as fun and frolicky as Brinkley.
Well, we're going to be doing an episode on that, right?
Yeah, we'll do an episode on the quacks of rehab from the 1900s. It's really good. Some of them were making you drink liquid gold to become sober, and there's
liquid
all
gold. That sounds like a term that in
liquid
the underground,
gold, my friend. Liquid gold.
Yeah, I have a bad feeling what that is.
And
Thank you, Audio House.
If you want to help me purchase the additional Kennedy books, you can PayPal me or Venmo me or Eric, and that'll help reach the 300 mark in JFK books. I think we're at 295 right now. We need another 5 books to get over the top of 300. That could be on PayPal or Venmo. I appreciate it.
Oh, and I was so into the show, I forgot to bring it up.
Oh, that's my favorite thing. Yeah, I love this thing. Go to unstructuredlocals.com for more exclusive content. This is like a CNN thing. I love this thing. This is the
ticker.
The ticker. Where's the other sign with the red button?
Oh, this is the you mean the subtle subscription sign?
Yeah. Ah, there it is. Remember this? I love that.
And those are the most important messages of the day, folks.
What about liking? What does liking do? You explained this last week. I didn't understand.
Liking is great. It is the lowest level of interaction. It just tells YouTube, hey, I like it.
Right. Okay.
And as long as people are interacting with the video, that cues YouTube, because it's all about, do people care? Are they still here? Are they liking? Are they engaging? And that's the easiest one. You hit the button, boom, there you go. Subscription. Right. Subscribing is kind of like bookmarking. And people will tell you, if you look way up in the chat, they're not even getting notifications. So
you got to hit the notification bell too, Eric.
And
right?
you have to hit the notification bell, say all notifications. And even then, I'd recommend following me on Twitter. I do tweet out every time, at least twice a day. And of course, Locals is the first place I state that there's a show coming. Not only this, but every show I do, I put on Locals.
Don't forget Rumble, Eric, which is getting bigger and bigger. I mean,
we are playing on Rumble.
About it in Vegas, he was talking about Rumble, and it looks like it's about to explode. So
let's hope. We're growing there. We've got 23 watching it right now.
In one room, or they're spread out?
I can't answer from where they're watching. I'm going to guess it's multiple rooms, unless they have 23 computers lined up, which I would, never know. We could have a hacker, and they could be watching on all the screens. But
okay, so we got that going on. We got more Kennedy stuff coming, right?
We do. I'm wondering, we might want to do another Kennedy Q&A. I'm not sure, but we're getting a lot of questions that are flying in. I don't know if you wanted to do one of those first or go straight to I forgot his name. David Ferry.
Yeah, he's up next. So
it's
up to the people. I mean, we could take a poll on Locals if you want.
Yeah,
you've done this polling before. I mean, there's a lot of new Ferry stuff, so I may have to take some time to read it in the new.
Why don't we plan on doing a Q&A? I don't know if it'll be Friday, but if we do the next thing, the Q&A kind of keep everybody, catch up on whatever's going on and help lead in. And also helps gauge interest from everybody on the different things.
Well, Ferry's going to be up next either way. So I have to catch up on Ferry. And this new book has David Ferry in it, the new general book. I don't know if they're connected, but starting to look like there's a lot of generals involved in this conspiracy. And apparently Barnes believes so.
Well,
he's jumped the shark on this thing. He's already ahead of me saying the generals did it, but that's where I was subtly leaning.
What's so funny about it? It's not funny. Somebody put in a comment. I can't keep track anymore, but I was like, such a good point. They're like, that's exactly what Eisenhower freaking told you when he left. And it's like, I mean, it is possible that, because Eisenhower did warn JFK on about a few things.
That's right.
And he didn't have any bad feelings, but I kind of wonder if speech about military industrial complex wasn't just
It could
kind
be.
of another,
It could have been a
foreshadowing of saying, hey, watch out, mofos, something's coming down the line.
Well, we now have 3 generals involved. We got Walker, who's a 2-star. We've got Cabell, who was a 4-star, and we've got Curtis LeMay, who was a 4-star, and the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So these 3, and I'm just getting started on the generals. I mean, Ed Lansdale is another one, but he was given an artificial title. I don't think he actually was a general, but I'm going to look into Lansdale. Oliver Stone suggested Ed Lansdale was involved on some level, so I haven't gotten there yet. But so far, we got 3 generals involved, and there might be some more. We got Colonel Burris, who was LBJ's military attaché, might have been going back and forth from LBJ to Cabell, who lived in Dallas, whose brother was the mayor of Dallas, who changed the parade route. And Walker, of course, as we know, had the leading rifle teams every year in Germany, winning the award as the best.
And his bridge game with Jack Ruby, and
there's some strange
things. Everybody's relating. Boy, it just ties up a lot.
Yeah,
it's starting
to really. I'm doing this in real time. I mean, the investigation never ends because they did such a good job of clouding the water that it's really taken this long to uncloud it. They did a good job, my friends.
Well, didn't Michael Bolton say, hey, you got to know how to do a coup?
Yeah, these guys know how to do it. If they had Bolton, they would have been caught the next day, but they didn't have Bolton.
Exactly. And Barnes even said that on Sunday. He's like, watch America's Untold Story. You'll learn about the original coup.
Oh, that's right. He did say that. That's right.
So,
yeah.
Really appreciate the shout outs.
Yeah.
And folks, until Friday, not sure what we're going to do on Friday. It will be fantastic, though. And look forward to seeing you there.